What is the mind? Is it merely a container of thoughts? Or is it something deeper, something more subtle that governs the whole experience of life? Let us begin from the beginning, not from books, not from second-hand theories, but from our direct observation. The mind is not separate from thought. In fact, the mind is thought. Not one thought, but the stream of thoughts flowing endlessly like a river. One thought gives rise to another, and soon we are carried away by this current without knowing where it began or where it's taking us. Let us look at how thinking begins. A child is born, and the mind is like a clean slate. No names, no beliefs, no divisions. But soon, the world begins its work. The parents give the child a name. The family gives identity. Society gives labels. Hindu, Christian, rich, poor, smart, stupid. These are all ideas, and they are stored in the mind. Slowly, the child begins to think not freely, but according to the patterns laid down by others. Thought is not spontaneous anymore. It becomes repetitive, reactive. Ask yourself, is thought ever free? Or is it always conditioned by what you already know? You see a person, and instantly you judge them, based on their clothes, speech, status, skin color. Where does that judgment come from? It comes from memory, and memory is the past. So thought is always of the past, never of the present. Even when we think about the future, it is just a projection of past experiences stretched forward. So is there any thought that is new, untouched by the past? We think all day. Even in sleep, thought continues in the form of dreams. But do we know how we think? Suppose someone insults you. Immediately there is hurt. That hurt triggers a thought. He disrespected me. That thought becomes anger. Now anger becomes another chain of thoughts. Revenge, argument, proving oneself. Can you see the machinery of the mind? One stimulus, one word, can create a storm within. Yet we call ourselves free. We live in a prison of our own mental construction. Walls of belief, ideas of success, concepts of love, definitions of God. Everything we think, we have borrowed. And yet we say, this is my opinion. But is it really yours? Or is it simply a repetition of what has been fed to you since childhood? You say, I am thinking for myself. Are you? When you say something is good or bad, beautiful or ugly, right or wrong, do those judgments arise from pure observation, or are they colored by your culture, religion, education, and personal experience? And if they are colored, then where is the freedom to see things as they are? Let's take a simple example. Imagine a man walking into a temple wearing torn clothes. Most people will judge him as poor, unimportant. Now imagine a wealthy man walking in with silk garments and bodyguards. Instantly, people bow, offer him the front row. Why? Because the mind has been trained to respect wealth and ignore poverty. This is the conditioning of thought. Now ask yourself, how does this thinking develop? Is it natural or is it trained? You were trained to compare yourself with others. From school you were told, be first. If you scored less, you were made to feel inferior. That constant comparison becomes thought, and comparison breeds jealousy, anxiety, depression. You were taught to desire success, fame, money. So every action you take is not out of joy, but out of ambition. You are running, always running, chasing an ideal future created by thought. But thought is limited. It can only work within what it knows. Try to think of something totally new, not just a new combination of old things, but something that has never existed before. You'll see it's impossible. Thought is mechanical. It is useful, yes, in technology, in planning a trip, in solving math. But when it comes to love, to beauty, to truth, thought becomes a hindrance. Because the moment you name something, you kill its essence. See a flower. If you just look, there is wonder, freshness. But the moment you say rose, your mind says, I know it. The seeing ends. You are now looking through the veil of knowledge, not with fresh eyes. So how do we live in this world without becoming slaves to thought? Can we use thought when needed and remain silent when it is not? Can we observe without naming, listen without interpreting, love without expecting? Let's go deeper. Have you noticed that thought creates fear? Suppose your boss calls you suddenly. Thought immediately says, "What did I do? Am I in trouble? Will I lose my job?" The mind imagines 1,000 things in a second, most of them negative. None of it has happened yet, but fear is already alive. So thought, projecting an image of a painful future, creates fear now. Similarly, thought creates sorrow. You remember a loved one who is gone. The image arises. Memory brings pain. That pain is not in the present. It is in the mind's attachment to the past. So the mind clings to memories and suffers. What about desire? Thought again. You see a new phone. Instantly, thought says, "I want it." The image of owning it gives pleasure. Now thought keeps returning to that image, and desire is born. You chase it. Maybe you get it. But the mind quickly finds something else to want. Desire never ends. It is always moving from one object to another. All this shows that thinking is not just harmless chatter. It is a powerful force that creates our inner world, and if not understood, it becomes our master. But then the question arises, can we stop thinking? That's the wrong question. The real question is, can we understand thought, see its movements, without resisting it? Because the very effort to stop thought is another thought. That's how subtle it is. The mind trying to control itself is still the mind. So what is to be done? First, observe. Just observe how a thought arises. Don't label it, don't fight it. Watch it like you watch a cloud floating by. It comes, it stays, it goes. If you observe without judgment, you will begin to see the whole structure, the craving, the fear, the memory, the reaction. And in that observation, there is freedom. One day a man came and said, "I'm always anxious. My mind never rests. What should I do?" The answer is, do nothing. Just watch. Anxiety is not the problem. Your resistance to it is. The more you fight the mind, the more you feed it. But if you can simply watch the anxiety like you watch a bird singing or a leaf falling, it loses its grip. Silence is not the absence of thought. It is the absence of the thinker. When the observer and the observed become one, when there is no separation, then there is only seeing, only awareness. That awareness is intelligence, not the intelligence of books or exams, but the deep, living intelligence that sees clearly, acts instantly, and does not carry memory like a burden. Have you ever looked at the sea without thinking? Just stood there, watching the waves crash, feeling the breeze, without saying, "This is beautiful." In that moment you are free. Free from the past, free from judgment. That moment is truth. But the moment you say, "I want to feel that again," you are back in thought, back in memory, and the freshness is lost. So the challenge is not to escape the mind, but to understand it so totally that it becomes quiet on its own. Like a tired child who stops crying when he knows he is heard, the mind becomes still when it is fully understood. We spend years polishing the mind, learning, analyzing, comparing, but we rarely ask, who is the thinker behind these thoughts? Is the thinker different from thought, or is he made of the same material? If you look closely, you'll see the thinker is just another thought. The I who says, "I am thinking," is just an image, a center created by memory. Without thought, there is no I. That is the deepest illusion, to believe in a permanent self, a controller, a doer. And yet we fear the ending of thought, because we fear the ending of the self. We think, if I don't think, I won't exist. But have you ever truly existed in a moment without thought? When you're watching a sunset, lost in music, or looking into the eyes of someone you love, there is no thought, no I. And yet, there is immense presence, immense aliveness. That is your true nature, awareness, not thought. So the mind, when misunderstood, becomes a prison. But when understood, it becomes a servant. Use it for what it is meant: communication, calculation, survival. But don't let it rule your inner world. Learn to watch it, question it, and ultimately, go beyond it. And that beyond is not some mystical place. It is here, now, in the quiet seeing of what is. In that seeing, the mind is no longer a problem. It becomes transparent, like glass through which truth can shine. Then you are not bound by thought. You are free. Not tomorrow, not after years of practice, but now, in this very moment, if you can look with clear eyes. The mind is a tool, a mirror, a map, but it is not the destination. Life is not in the words we think, but in the silence between them. When that silence flowers in you, untouched by past or future, then thought bows down, and truth reveals itself, not as an idea, but as a living presence. And perhaps, in that timeless presence, we come to understand love, not as thought, not as attachment, not as desire, but as the fragrance of freedom, the music of a mind that has ended its noise and come home to stillness.